Well, hello, everyone, and I hope you're having a great day. I am your host, Tamara Caulder Richardson, and welcome to the Seeking Heaven channel. Quick announcements. We're going to jump into today's topic, which is UFOs with a ufologist and more. I mean, this is, I'm so pumped about this. Okay, first of all, please sign up for my Ascension School because you're going to love it. I've got free meditations, Christ-like meditations like the one I felt in my near-death experience. I have some free channeling stuff, paid for things. Oh, they're all fantastic. If you're interested in evidential psychic medium reading, I do life path as well at the Akashic level. Sign up for here at the southernbellemedium.com, and you can book a session for yourself or for a group if you have a family that you want to do together, your family. Then we also have Starseed sessions that you can find on my Academy of Divine Wisdom.com under services, where I can give you a channel, a transmission, a channel message, your galactic mission, what that may be. And then the Seeking Heaven channel store, where you can get some customized galactic merchandise. And finally, sign up for the Seeking Heaven show channel, share it with your friends, tell everybody how great it is. And I've got almost 400 episodes, and check them all out. So today we have back Shelia Knies. She is a ufologist, a UFO experiencer, among many things. She's been in the spiritual community for some time. If you haven't seen the first episode with her talking about her spiritual journey and really being heavily involved, it's so cool because, you know, it's like, oh, these opportunities present themselves. I always call them the accidental, you know, I have accidental spiritual awakenings, but when we're in synchronicities, doors just open up. That was so cool hearing that. So please watch how she came to be and where she is now. And we're going to pick it up from here about, you know, we were talking about Sheila's spiritual journey. Let me get Sheila back. Welcome back, Sheila.
Hi there. Welcome.
Hi. So we were talking about how cool you were doing all these large events, and then you're doing it for New York, and then how these just kept expanding and opportunities, and then you'll have to, there's so much more. You're going to have to see that. And then, of course, naturally, my question would be, you moved to Florida. How did this UFO thing begin, or this whole world? But when the world is really opened up to you, I mean, it's like, how could you go back? Who would want to? So tell everyone you're here. They're seeing the first part. How did you get turned on to the whole UFO community? And we'll talk about disclosure later.
Well, I will tell you that, as I said in the other portion, actually, I was in the metaphysical field. I had started running psychic fairs in the New York area for 16 years. And when I started doing my psychic fairs, I got a phone call from a person named Timothy Green Beckley. And he said, Sheila, I sell UFO magazines, and I would love to rent a table from you to sell the magazines at your functions. Now, we're talking about the 1980s, and I will tell you, people considered you a total nut job if you believed in UFOs. And in 1980, actually, I did not believe in UFOs at all. I used to believe every single thing our government said. Boy, have things changed. But what I will say is in 1980,
good for you.
Our government said it's absolutely impossible that anybody's out there because this planet's in an area where it's way too hot outside. This planet's in an area where it's way too cold outside. This planet has no water on the outside. So, of course, it's absolutely impossible. There's no one out there. And I believed it. So when Timothy actually called and asked if he could sell his UFO magazines at my psychic fair, I actually hesitated and I told him the truth. I said, you know what? It's really not my thing. I don't really believe in it. But something told me to give him a chance. And I said, you know what? It's up to you. Even though I'm not a believer, perhaps there are other people at my psychic fairs who are. So if you would like to come this weekend, and if you do well, you're more than welcome to continue with me. He did so well, he said, I want to go to every single one of your functions. And that's what he started doing. Now, 2 months after he started with me, and, I had been friendlier with him, he walked in one day into my psychic fair holding a book. And he said, you know what? I just got done writing a book and I would love it if you would critique it. So I said, sure, what's it on? He said, UFOs. What do you think I'm doing here? And I told him, truthfully, I thought the whole time he was selling comic books. So he looked at me like I had 5 heads and he said, why in the world would you have thought that I was selling comic books? I said, well, there's Batman, Spider-Man, and you had some little
Yeah.
guy with 2 big black bulgy eyes. I mean, let's face it, that looks like a comic book.
Mm.
Anyway, he smiled, he handed me his book, and he said, I think you really need to read it. And you know what? He was so right, because in his book was a very simple concept that I never thought of, and this is what it was. It said it doesn't matter if a planet's in an area where it's way too hot outside or way too cold outside or has no water on the outside, because people can live inside of their planets where it's nice and cozy. And I don't know why, but it just triggered my mind, reminding me of my history teachers always talking about cavemen living inside caves, cliff
Yeah.
dwellers living inside cliffs. And it
Yeah.
was almost like a light bulb again went off in my brain. And I thought, you know what? He has a point. We had people
Yeah.
living inside of our planet. So I will tell you, I read his book in 24 hours. It was so exciting to me. I brought his book back the following week and I said, you know what, Timothy, I loved your book and now I'm totally hooked. So, what do I do to actually find out more information about UFOs?
And
He
what was
said,
the name of his book? Excuse me, Sheila, what was the name
The
again?
Hollow Earth Theory.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it.
That was the one that I had, right. And in fact, I don't even know if it come out totally in publication because he wanted me to critique it. But all I could say, it
Really?
was wonderful. Then, what I will tell you is that when it came to, what he advised me to do to learn more about UFOs, he said the first thing you should do is actually join a group called MUFON. And I know that you know them. It stands for Mutual UFO Network. And he explained that this group actually, or this organization, actually has meetings in just about every major city in the United States and in other countries as well. So he said, start there. Then he said you could buy more books on the subject. Hint, hint, he'd written a few other books before that himself. And then he said you could go to UFO conferences. Boy, this was in a time frame where he was the only person I knew who believed in UFOs. And for me to think that there were conferences that actually, obviously should have attracted many, many people, it surprised me because, again, I knew only him who believed in UFOs at the time.
What
But
now,
in
what year was that, do you think,
1980,
approximately? That was right at 19. No
yeah,
one was really talking about this. If you talked about this, it was very unheard of. So again, you're a pioneer. You're on a topic that very edgy. So,
yes. It definitely was. And so, what I will say is what happened from there is fortunately in 1980, I worked for the airlines and I could fly anywhere in the world free. So, I flew to every single UFO conference there was. I actually bought so many books on UFOs. I have more than the Sedona Library. And when everybody else in my neighborhood was a soccer mom, I'm dragging my kids to UFO meetings.
love
And
it.
and of course, I joined MUFON.
That's awesome.
So, and it was funny because basically, I will just say that when it came to Florida, which you had mentioned, my husband at the time said, New York is getting cold. How about if we move to Florida? And of course, the first thing I wanted to do is find the local MUFON meeting. But I found out from where I lived, it wasn't that local. It was about an hour and 20 minutes away. But
Wow.
doing more research, I found out that in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, which was only about 20 minutes away from where I lived, there was actually a lady holding UFO meetings at Denny's, of all places. Yes, you never think of Denny's and UFOs put together, but supposedly she held them on a regular basis. So I thought, you know what? I'll first go there. I knew nothing about that organization, but I thought, you know what? I'll start there. And if I don't think that there's much information that I can get from that organization, the following week I figured I'd go to, the good old MUFON meeting. Well, I was in shock because when I went to Denny's, there were about 60 people attending this UFO meeting. And the
That's a
lady in
lot of
charge,
eggs.
yes, yes, yes. You could get a grand slam breakfast and a UFO meeting at the same time.
Sign me up.
So what happened was I will tell you, the lady in charge gave an excellent presentation. When she was done, she had a question and answer period. Now, she knew most of the answers, but not all of them. And whenever she didn't know an answer, I would raise my hand and she'd call on me. And after that happened 7 or 8 times, some guy from the front of the room turns around, looks at me and says, "Who in the world are you? And how do you know so much?" So I told him my background, and then he said something that changed my life. He said, "You know what? The lady in charge of these meetings has been wanting to retire for the longest time, and we've been looking for another leader. I
Here you
want
go
you."
again. This is your life. I mean,
Right.
you step in, you're right before it's a big topic, and then you get set up, and then the person leaves, and here you are. I mean, this is like a theme.
So all I could say is after he said, "I want you as the leader," 59 other people started chanting, "We want you, we want you." So I ended up running my own UFO meetings for many, many years at Denny's in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Yeah, I ate a lot of eggs. Maybe that's why there's a shortage now. I don't know. But
Yeah,
anyway.
well, they were cheaper back then. The eggs were very cheap. Yes.
And then I continued to go to the conferences. I started rubbing elbows with a lot of people in the secret space program and became the Florida director of the National Investigations Committee on UFOs. So,
Now, what
that's,
year was that? You just slide that in like it's no big deal. That's a big deal. So what
let's
year
see,
was that?
let's see, it was in the 1990s at that point. Um,
Really? Okay.
yes, but I can tell you how that happened, sort of, when I
Yeah.
say sort of.
Yeah, I'm kind of fill me in a little bit. This is very fascinating.
So this is what happened. It was where, again, I would go to every single conference, everything, anything I could get my hands on about UFOs, I read, etc. And it was on Mother's Day, and this was in the late 1980s. And my husband said, "What would you like to do for Mother's Day?" And I said what every mother would say: "I want to go to a UFO conference." There's one happening in Miami, and I'd really like to attend. So he was not big into UFOs. So I said, "You know what? There's a great lecturer going to be speaking in the morning, and then I'll be back early afternoon, and we can do like a brunch kind of thing." Well, I went actually to the goal was to actually see Charles Berlitz, because he had written a great book about Atlantis. And so when I got to the meeting, um, I got there early, and there was a man named Dr. Frank Stranges who just started speaking. Now, he told the most amazing story. He actually said that he had written a book called Saucerama about UFOs, and he was actually going around the United States promoting his book. Someone had given him a photo of a person who supposedly was from Venus, who supposedly was actually living in the Pentagon. So when Dr. Stranges would give his lectures, he would always show the photo. And he was in, I guess it was December, I think it was like let's see, probably about 1959. And he was actually in Washington, D.C. After he gave his speech, people lined up to buy his book. And as he's signing his book, a lady came up to him, flashed a badge, and said, "I need to talk with you now." Well, He was a little surprised and he got up right away and said, okay. And they went into a side room. He thought he was in big trouble, but instead
Yeah.
she said, how would you like to meet the man in the picture? And he,
That is cool. Okay.
and he said, yes, definitely. So she said, be outside of your hotel tomorrow, 8 o'clock sharp. And that's what he did. So 8 o'clock, a limousine comes to pick him up. She's in the limousine. He gets in and he said, this is so amazing. I was told it was next to impossible to get any identification to get into the Pentagon. And so how did you do it? And she said, I didn't, but you're just going to follow me and you'll be fine. Anyway, so they get to the Pentagon and they go to the first security area there. And basically, she has a blazer on and he was wearing a suit as well. So she just walks past security and she goes like this and closes, her blazer. So that's what he did. But she had a something there. He didn't, but he just walked like he was official, went like this, kept on going. And at first he was in shock and he thought, oh, okay, this is it. But then they came to another security area, did the same exact thing, and he had no badge at all, and they allowed him in. And then she pointed to a room and said, let's see, Val Thor is waiting for you there. He's the person in that photo. Anyway, it was such an amazing connection. They got along really, really well. Val Thor had been living in the Pentagon for close to 3 years at that time, and he really wanted someone spiritual who believed in UFOs to share information with. So he actually ended up taking Dr. Strange's to Venus. He took him to the Galactic Federation of Worlds to meet people from other planets. And they were, again, in contact with each other on and off through the years. After Val Thor left this planet, and he was from Venus, and I will tell you that he would come back and forth to this planet, but he told Dr. Strange's, listen, unfortunately, I can't give information to our government. He already knew that they weren't really that honorable. However, I have a lot of information I'd like to share. And because you're a spiritual man, I would like you to get a bunch of people together who believe in UFOs, who are also spiritual. I'll have to approve them. You can choose them, but I'll have to approve them first. And you can start having meetings with them, and I will share information with you to give to them only. And I was part of that group and dragged my daughter along as well.
Of course you did. What an awesome mom you are. My gosh, this is great. There are mothers like you out there. This is amazing. Okay, so let me show a picture real quick. So this is Valiant Thor right here, the one with the papers.
Correct. And his adopted, well, he actually is a created being. He was made by God.
Okay.
And so he was adopted by the Thor, spelled Thor family, the person facing him. So Val is to the right, holding the papers. The
Okay.
person facing him
Right.
is Don Thor. And actually, Val Thor was adopted by Don Thor's family.
Which the wife is next to him, right?
Well, you know what? That is Jill. And I think that Val Thor ended up marrying Jill. He ended up marrying a person named Jill Yin, and I think that's her. But I'm not 100% sure. I think I'm sort of 90% sure. So
This Valiant Thor, he had, because he's a creative being, I want you to kind of just stay there just for a minute because that's kind of like a new concept to some people. So he had no fingerprints, correct?
exactly, and no belly button.
Wow.
So
I'd like to say, did you see that? But I believe you.
no, I personally have never met him, but I have gotten messages from him through Dr. Strange's. So what I will tell you is this. He, as a young boy, really was trained by wonderful people. Again, he was a created being and he was adopted by the Thor family. And he really wanted to really work on ships. And he, however, was trained for many different things, and he became a teacher. And one day he was walking by, a waterway. And from the waterway, what happened was all of a sudden he saw a finger coming out of the water on fire. In other words, think of a fingery fire. And then the finger then exposed an arm, and it was almost like, it came out little by little, I don't know, and it was all on fire. And then the fiery finger touched his lips and said to him, "Your lips are going to be speaking words of wisdom for other planets." And he was then told that his job was to bring light to planet Earth.
Okay, so this is a lot. Okay, this is all good, but so I want to go back to the adoption. Did he come in as a little boy or was he a grown man? I mean, how did
But
what
let's
was the
see.
purpose of the adoption? What was you understand? I mean, a grown man usually
I know.
adopted.
I don't know all the details of that.
Okay.
All I know is that he was a created being, and I know the people on Venus consider him sort of one down from Jesus.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Created, okay,
Helps.
so he's created by God for this mission to bring love and understanding and teach planet Earth, but apparently other planets too. So he was created. So would he be considered? I mean, I know I hate to go down this road, but is he angel-y like?
Well, I guess he probably would be considered an angel.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, he didn't have the wings at all, and there's the word car. There's a lot of cars. They all look very, very different. So maybe, right,
Right,
so maybe
exactly.
he's an angel, but there's ones that are etheric that maybe we perceive as wings. So, but he would be some form of a higher ranked, almost like a human form archangel, kind of, right?
Right,
Mhm.
exactly.
Did he
And
have abilities? Like, did he
oh,
have
yes.
supernatural abilities?
Oh, definitely. Let's see. He can basically, let's see. I'm forgetting the word for it, but basically, he can actually. Okay, I will just say, Doctor Strange's once was driving in Beverly Hills, and all of a sudden, he hears a voice from Val from his back seat saying, "Hi, Frank." He can actually go through any elements and be there. And basically,
Mm, cool.
Dr. Frank Stranger said he almost had a car accident because it sounds like he could not only like locate, but he could also
Cool.
go through walls, do whatever,
Oh,
whatever.
like men with goats or whatever, just like I love that movie, where you can just go through, you can take so he could manipulate material, space, and time
Exactly.
to
Materialize. Okay, that's what I'm
either duplicate himself or to project himself or to actually break down and like people that saw Jesus, he could materialize his body or different light bodies or actual messed material body, right? Energy. So he was much like that. Okay. Can I show this picture of you?
Oh,
And
yes, yes,
okay,
yes, yes.
okay. Explain this picture and then go on with the story. This is just also
Okay, so
great. This is
the
good.
man, sitting up front is Dr. Frank Stranges.
Mhm.
And so the people are the inner circle people,
Right.
people who he invited to be in the inner circle who were approved by Val. And my daughter is sitting to the right of him, and I'm in the greenish outfit to the right. And basically, he had appointed me the Florida director of the National Investigations Committee on UFOs. He was the head of the National Investigations Committee on UFOs, but I was the Florida director. And so we had worked together. And, I learned a lot from him. I would constantly go to all the conventions, etc. And he unfortunately passed away in 2008. But Val Thaw used to give messages each month to certain people in the organization, this inner circle. So because I was
Oh,
in the inner circle for quite a while, I was one of the original ones. I've gotten quite a few messages through the years from Val Thaw. So I feel very connected with him, although I've never personally met him. But I'm hoping to. He's still alive and well. And he actually has said recently that he is watching out for the people of planet Earth. He
good.
is specifically focusing on blocking any nuclear war happening on this planet.
Good. Yes, good, good. Well, that's one thing that's, I feel like that the Galactic Federation and also any planetary systems that are in alignment with that kind of have been doing. Because doesn't it affect not just the planet Earth, but it affects everything, affects other planets.
Definitely, exactly.
Mhm.
In fact, I found out that the reason why nuclear weapons are worse than any other weapon is because they actually not only rip through one dimension, they can rip through several dimensions. And
Ooh.
that is why, yeah, they're the worst. Um, but and again,
Mm.
Val Thaw recently said, even if a nuclear weapon has been launched, they can actually stop it midair. So I will tell you that, they really have had our backs. And a lot of people will ask me, well, why are they so good to us? You know what? We're part of their family. We actually are
Mm.
part of, yeah, we are
And
part of their family. Now,
yeah.
there's one thing I'll just mention because I know we had talked about Craig Campobasso, and
Yeah.
I had met him. He was a casting director in Hollywood, and so was I. And I heard that there was a casting director who believed in UFOs. So
Mhm.
I had to meet him. And when we connected, he had the same vision that I had, but he had more of the connections to do it. He actually made a short film
Yes.
called Stranger at the Pentagon,
Yes.
about Val's connection with our planet.
I saw it.
So
It was very good. It was very good. I liked it. Of course, it
yes,
won a bunch of awards, didn't it? It won a
yes,
bunch of
it did.
small film awards.
I was actually at the, let's see, the original opening of that show with Craig and
Oh,
other people, yes, in LA many years ago. I don't remember the
that
exact
is
date,
such a
but
small world. A little so your corporate job was in Hollywood.
right, I
Uh,
was a
yeah,
casting director.
in casting director. You were a casting director, and so was he? That's very unusual.
Yes, right.
And so, interesting. And that's cool. I think the world of Crag, and that's really neat. I didn't that association that's just amazing. So, you were saying he had this vision for this film, and then had this produced. I know he's got a recent documentary out.
Mhm.
Have you seen that one? I haven't seen that one
No,
yet.
I haven't seen the new
Yeah,
one.
I'm sure it's also very good. So, I want to put up this book by Frank Strange. Did I pronounce that correct?
It's
Stranges?
Strangest. It's actually an
Stranges.
Italian, you would never know, but it's an
Mhm.
Italian last name. His parents were from Italy.
Stranges. Okay. And he produced this. Now, you were part of his inner circle when this came out, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did he write about you or his group in this?
No, he actually wrote more about his experience on
Mm,
ships. For instance, he was invited again to go on a ship and base. Well, I say on a ship, it's actually on Victor One. Victor One is the name of Val Thaw's ship. He
mhm.
used to park it outside of Lake Mead, outside of Las Vegas.
Mm,
And I will tell you that the first time that Dr. Stranges went into the ship, he said the first thing that you have to do is you actually have to be sort of showered, not
I
just
was knew you were gonna say that. You've done that with me in the Galactic Federation. Why would they like take you need a bath? I don't need a bath. They gotta shower they hose you down with
it's
this like
more of a
dry
deep
ice. What is this thing with baths? I mean,
it's a let's see, in other words,
oh,
basically they want to decontaminate people. So the first thing when you go on a ship, he said that they put you into like a shower kind of thing.
yeah,
You're decontaminated, and
yeah.
then what it is they have some sort of method whereby this kind of machine knows exactly your dimensions, and it instantaneously makes you an outfit
Yeah, little
that's white, like white overalls is the way he described
yeah.
it, and boots. And so you immediately go into that. And then I will just say that he actually was offered the ability to go into the Akashic records. And he said, "How
Oh,
can you do
cool.
that?" And I found out through him that Val actually had stated that the people from Venus, or the Galactic Federation of Worlds, which he is in charge of, actually holds the history of planet Earth, all the Akashic records, on coins. Now, when I say on coins, you
Huh.
have to realize this is in the 1980s. We used to have VHS. We didn't have CDs or anything
Oh,
at that
that's true.
time. And
Right.
so, according to Dr. Strange's, he was offered to choose any time in history that he would like to have more information about. And he was given a coin, sort of like a quarter, to put into this machine. And he chose the time of Noah. And he said that he was in such shock because what a lot of people don't know about the time of Noah was that there used to be a canopy around planet Earth, and it never rained. The way plants actually lived was the dew would rise up in the morning, and so actually they were watered from below. And when Noah said that there's going to be this big storm and rain, et cetera, this big flood, obviously people thought he was crazy. And in, let's see, this video, whatever he saw, people used to throw trash at him. I mean, they were really just terrible
Oh
to
my
Noah
God.
because they thought he was crazy, because it had never ever rained before on this planet, because there was a canopy protecting the planet.
So it was a filament. What the Bible talks about
Right.
a filament. So it was a
Exactly.
dome, like that
Mhm.
show that was called The Dome. It's like a dome or
Ex
whatever.
Exactly. But then that was broken, and that's why we had the flood, or
Mm.
that's how we had the flood. So he said he was just crying because the people treated Noah so
Mhm.
poorly. He couldn't believe people, again, were throwing trash at him and saying all these horrible
Mm.
things. He
Yeah.
also found out that when it comes to some of our politicians, actually, Valthog connected with Eisenhower for many years. He really loved Eisenhower. He said Eisenhower was a really wonderful man, but unfortunately, he didn't have a lot of power. Even though people are presidents, a lot of times it's not, they're the puppets
True
for,
power.
yeah,
Right.
for the powerful. But what he told, what he told Dr. Strange's was he actually at some point met with Robert Kennedy, and
Mhm.
Kennedy asked him if he should run for president, to be the president. And Val Thaw told him, "No, do not run for anything now. You can run 4 years from now. You will be successful, but do not run now." And then, unfortunately,
Wow.
he got
Yeah.
killed,
Yeah.
but he
Yeah.
was warned.
He was too
So,
he was too dangerous.
yeah, yeah. So when it comes to the book Stranger at the Pentagon, it has little stories like that. So it did not include, where Val thought, like if Val thought was a baby or how that happened exactly. But what I do know is that supposedly when he was younger, he was trained by really very special people. I guess he was being groomed for what he has become now.
So he basically is eternal. He doesn't die. He can shift in his consciousness to go wherever he wants to go, as well
Exactly.
as if he needs a solid form, kind of like an angel. If he needs a solid form, right? Fine.
Exactly.
If I don't need quite a solid form, not just travel by consciousness, but maybe the density is not necessary. He can adapt, I suppose. So he lives forever, right?
Yes. And you know what I thought was funny? It does say in the book that actually Eisenhower was a little upset with Val Thaw because the security people couldn't keep tabs on him. He would just dematerialize. That was very tough for his security.
Oh my
So, yes,
God. Oh, so he really
Eisenhower
did.
said,
Okay.
yes, Eisenhower said, can you, like slow down on your dematerializing? Because the security
Cool.
guards, could you imagine me being trained for years to protect a certain person and then they
Mhm.
just go through walls,
That's
so.
one thing, the abortation, haven't done that. That's on my bucket list. So, wow. Now, when you're in these meetings, how long did they meet that you had these basically Valiant Thor transmissions they would give to Frank Stranges and to the group? How long did that last? Was it years?
Oh, he did that for years, but what it would be always like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday conference. So it was always a weekend
Mm,
conference,
okay.
um, it was just really wonderful because again, it's being with people of like minds, and Dr. Stranges was a really spiritual man. He had invited some of us to his home, and I was really surprised because when he first got there, he told us, oh, take this, take that, drink this, eat that, or whatever. And then he walked into a closet. So that really surprised me. But I found out from his wife that actually that's where he prays. So he actually has a prayer closet.
You're
So yes,
kidding.
yes.
It's
So he
like
would go
literal.
literally, literally, literally. So and and Val Thaw actually protected him. People had tried murdering Dr. Stranges 3 times,
Awful.
and Val Thaw, always came to his rescue. Um, so, according to what I heard, Dr. Stranges, will be reincarnating soon, or basically his energy is still around here. But again, they had a very nice, close connection.
Oh,
So,
that's beautiful. And, and we just transition, we don't really die. So there's all sorts of options.
right,
I
exactly,
mean, you kind of end off where you left in a way, like you just
right.
so you're not going to be pushed into something you don't want. But he sounds like he's got a lot of options, and that's the first thing that I think about is, how does he want to contribute now? So, did you ever get a personal message in those
I've
weekend things?
gotten many messages from him, and they were always very timely. For instance, when I was in the hospital, I let's see, lost my gallbladder. I got a message, we're praying for your healing. I got let's see, also when I was actually working at a particular place and I was promoted, I got a message from him, that there was going to be a great opportunity for me that month, and that's exactly what happened. In
Um,
other words, it was
they,
where I would
they
get
care.
messages, yeah, that actually meant something that was very connected with my
Personal.
life, right? Very
And
personal.
and caring. Isn't that like,
Yes.
why aren't people caring? Because it's those simple little sweet things like, back in the day when people would send little letters and say thank you or things
Mhm.
like that. And that's what it sounds like so he actually knew each person.
And, for me to know that he's still alive and well and still protecting us is, obviously very comforting. It makes me want to meet our space brothers, let's see, sooner. And when I say meet our space brothers sooner, I know they've wanted to connect with us for such a long time. Unfortunately, the people in charge of our planet blocked us from doing that, but I know things are changing. And I really feel in my heart of hearts that we're going to be the first generation that will finally make contact. I don't know if you feel the same.
I got a message a couple years ago that it would be within 2 years.
Right.
It may be this year, the beginning of 2026. I mean, things are fluid. It kind of, it feels like dominoes. If this happens, then it'll push it here. If that happens, it'll push it there. But soon, but I don't think it's not like the individual contact that many people have had. As you well know, individual people.
Right.
but it's more of a mass thing. So I
Right.
think that it could be a very positive thing because it's going to break loose the old systems, but I think it's going to, um, make a lot of people question, of course, but I think they'll be the ones
Exactly.
that look like us. Maybe,
Yes,
um,
that's what I think too. The people who look like us will be the ones introduced to us first.
yeah.
And then little by little, we're going to be introduced to other people who look a little differently. Uh, yes, it looks like you were about to say something, but
Oh, no, no. No,
I
I
was
was
going
just,
to share what I thought was a funny story that Dr.
yeah.
Strange's, told the inner circle. He was invited, to the Galactic Federation of Worlds, and they meet twice a year. They share all new technologies with each other. And but because planet Earth has been sort of blocked by the beings in charge of our planet to really connect with people from other places,
Mhm.
it's very few people from planet Earth have ever been there. So he actually, for the first time he ever went there, he saw a man who was a cyclops. And he thought to himself, my God, this guy looks really strange. Now he forgot people from other planets are telepathic.
They can
So,
hear. You got to be careful.
so the cyclops comes up to him, smiles, and said, well, you know what? You look sort of strange to me. And then yep. And they ended up being great buddies. He said he learned so much. He met so many people from other places. And again, as you know, some people look like us, some people don't.
Right,
But it
right,
doesn't mean that they're not wonderful people if they don't look like us. And he
right.
became real good buddies with this Cyclops. And it seems as if a lot of, let's see, legends that we've heard about things, they're not really legends. They're really, a lot of it is truth. And so it was interesting when he finally saw a Cyclops. He had heard about them, but obviously it's nothing that we talk about too readily.
No, that I love that story. That's so cute. It's funny because my guides have been telling me, how you go through this unfoldment of spirituality, and they come to me very playful, and they said, "Hey, well, before I go there, when I was in junior high school, I loved Greek mythology. Like I couldn't get enough of it. And I
Mhm.
just thought this is fascinating. I don't know why I took to it. I took to that in zoology. I love zoology, which might come in handy soon with the other planets. Anyhow, and then my guides said to me, I don't know, a few weeks ago, they said, you need to talk on the connection of Greek mythology and the galactic origins because they're not mythology. And I went, oh,
Right,
really now? And he goes, yeah, they're just similar names of the same thing. He said, that's hidden. There's hidden truth in that. And I'm like, oh, great. Okay. So, when it really makes you want to question everything, but you got to think about if that's how Noah was treated, garbage being thrown at him, and then you
right.
figure wherever you were, Italy,
Mhm.
Greece, wherever it was, and you have knowledge, it's probably not safe to bring it out with people that want that control. So they had to hide it in literature.
Right.
And so there's going to be a lot of uh, really debunking the lies. And I think that it's going to be a little crazy at first. People might be a little angry. When you find out you've been lied to for eons, you might be a little angry.
Right,
But,
exactly.
and then before we can all, get together and hold hands and all that, there may be a little anger. But how do you see this disclosure unfolding, or do you have any glimpses or gut feeling? I know it's soon. I can't tell you the form it will take. I think it feels like a crescendo to me. Do you know what I mean? Like in a movie, things build up to
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
And the crescendo is not going to necessarily come as I see it, but I feel like individual contacts more often with things with this, but there's a crescendo that's going to occur with world governments, crescendo. And then it's just like people kind of, the majority is on the same page of disgust.
Right,
and, and
right.
then it's like, now we don't want any per se saviors or anything like that, but for goodness sakes, if we've had the technology, the alien technology for a while now, to heal and do all sorts of things. We definitely don't want it used against us. So it's just kind of leveling out the playing field. So it feels like it's led up to a crescendo, and it just feels like right timing. That people are awakened to a point that they're ready to take responsibility, and they've shifted, they've crossed that line of shifting and being more open-minded. How do you see this happening?
Well, first of all, I feel like it's already started. This year is
Mhm,
just an amazing year.
mhm.
And I can tell you that people on my tours are really becoming much more open minded. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but last year during the summer, a person named David Grush, spelled Grusch, actually came out on News Nation saying, you know what, I'm high up in intelligence, and I want to let you know that there are beings out there. And I can even prove it. We have their crashed craft. The government also came out with a statement saying out of the 40 billion potential places for people to live in our solar system, 25 are just like planet Earth. Um, I will tell you, I feel like this year is the beginning where it's going, just what you said, crescendo. And I feel like by 2027, I think we're finally going to connect on just what you, more on a mass level. You know, in other words, I really
Uh,
feel that, we're going to actually connect
so the
fully.
same. You know
Yeah.
what I feel like that's going on there, and, I don't know, I can't turn it off. I mean, I can turn it off, but why why? You know what I'm also getting was you were talking, um, there's another layer. They said, "Oh, humans, they love to think in singularity." Like there's one line, there's
Mhm.
multiple lines. The other line would be right now, they're getting, I don't know, lack of a better word, they're getting ready, the lieutenants. That'd be
Mhm.
me, you, and others like us,
Mhm.
because we're okay with this. We're like,
We're
"Cool."
waiting for it.
We're like, "Hey, yeah, I came out like Star Trek. This is amazing. When do I get be a part of that thing where all the party, where all the different races are together, and I get to wear like an evening gown, I get to hang out? I can't wait." When they'd have these galas around all these star planets. I'm like, where they have these crazy, different races. I'm like, I can't wait to do that.
Right,
And
it's like
so
a
I
Star
am,
Wars bar scene,
the bar scene, or
Star
but
Trek
like
bar
or
scene
when
kind of thing.
Captain Kirk would, they'd have these galas and they'd all come in and they have this. I was like, oh, I want to be a part of that. So this is great news for me, but others, if they're not, up, if they're not there yet, they're going to need, people to guide them, to help them. I don't know how this will unfold, but it just feels like it's just there's certain parts that feel chaotic, but then this part, I don't know about you, and even though I said we haven't done this before, lie. But the thing is, yes, we have helped other planets. But the thing is, this is going to somehow feel natural to people like us. I don't know why, but
Right.
I don't know why, but it's going to be like, yeah, it's going to be like, and so they have. It feels like things are being put in place for, if you want to call it, the fallout of confusions or questions or this kind of thing, to work with the beings. And I think that that's the footwork they're laying now, and maybe that's the testing. Do you feel like some of these sightings that are just with regular people, not people that went and bought all the books in the library on you?
Right, right.
Like, I'm one of those people. I think, well, look, if
Yes.
I'm just
No,
going to read everything I can
well, you
find.
know what? I think when people have been in this field for a long time, they realize that, our government has blocked us from really finding out the truth.
Mhm.
And the truth is, there are many wonderful beings out there. They're trying to scare us, and so I think the people who are open minded or have had some connection know that we have wonderful beings to connect with. I also will throw another little layer into this. My gut feeling is that
Mm.
when the connection happens, I do feel we will also have a lot of the ascended masters actually coming down and helping us sort of get into the new golden age. I do. I feel like we're going to have extra special connection at that time as well.
Well, interesting. I mean, this is just an observation, but I've noticed a few people that have been checking out. You know what I mean? Not like crossing over. And
Exactly.
I think it's because they're going to help. And they're they're ascending. You know, some
Right.
people are like, no, I'm going to stay here through this. It's going to be, you know, a little messy. I'm going to be here for that. And I'm like, for some reason, I'm like, I don't know. All right, okay, I'll do it. You know, but the thing is, it's like, because some people are like, I ain't going to that, you know, and then other people are like, no problem. And you're like, you're fine. They're like, boom, they're gone. They're not even in this world anymore. And I think they're going to come back to assist. There was, oh, what's his name? Michael Tamaron. And I met him and I said, you're a master. And he goes, how do you know? I'm like, how do you think I know? But I saw him in a dream and I described the dream. He goes, yeah. And we were at a pond and I said, and we showed up both with, what do you call it? Like pink lotus flowers around us and our background.
Yeah.
I said, that's where we were in the dream. He goes, yeah. So he passed away, you know, God rest his soul, wonderful human being. And I'm like, and I knew the moment he did, he was so, I don't say happy about it, but it's because he's one of the, I said, he's one of those that are going to help. And I noticed like strangers, you know, he's going to help. There are people that are crossing over that are going to help, but it really asked Jesus about this because timelines are also going to kind of flatten out and even out. But he said the band's coming back together. That's what he said.
That's great. That really is. And, you know, people on other planets, a lot of them are very spiritual. I was told that people in Venus, the first thing they do in the morning for 2 hours is they actually pray. A lot of people will ask me, do people from other planets believe in a God? And I know most of them believe in what they call Father, Mother God, or Prime Source. And they're very spiritual. So, you know, so that's why I'm looking forward to meeting these wonderful people, because I'm expecting wonderful, even if you look like a cyclops. But if you,
I'm like, come on, if you're green, blue, I mean, we'll just pick a color that looks good with that skin color. I'm fine with all of it, as long as your heart is full of love. And your intentions are pure. I'm fine with that. And you're definitely, you know, one of those beautiful beings. Wow, there's so much with you, Sheila. I definitely want to have you back. I want to, you know, have you back. I want to check out this clip. I filmed something. We were both, I didn't even tell people, both on the Galactic Origins cruise. That was December 2024. So we'll talk about that later. For now, unless you want to wrap up anything with Frank Strange's or Valiant Thor or anything.
Well,
I mean, you're just amazing. If you want to talk about the closure, if you want to, I'm just going to let you end it any way you want. I mean, you're just like, I mean, I'm just amazed at all of this.
Well, I don't know if you don't mind if I mention that I will be lecturing coming up soon.
Fantastic.
Let's see. I do UFO tours in Sedona, and that's where I share my information with people. Some people have asked me, do you have a book? And no, because actually I felt it was too dangerous to really get out big time and write a book. But what I will say is that coming up March 29th and 30th, I will be lecturing with more information about Val Thaw at the Rise of the Guardians, which is a wonderful conference that will be going on. And other wonderful people will be speaking there. Rionda Rowan happens to be an amazing person who has been very galactically connected. We have Vivian Chavet, who is in constant contact with her Arcturian family. Jimmy Church, I will tell you, he is just an amazing host. He has his own show, Fade to Black. David Palmer is also known as the Leo King, one of the top astrologers, you know, in the world. And JP is a U.S. Army insider who, to me, is really amazing. He actually has so much great information. He feels he can't come out to say who he is, so that's why he wears a mask. Tony Rodriguez has spent many years on a dwarf planet named Ceres, spelled Ceres. He's in the secret space program. We have Masadi, who actually is an amazing healer, had near-death experiences. And I mean, I could go on and on. We have just
great. Yeah, it sounds like fantastic.
Yeah, Barb Hudak also, just want to mention her heart math. She trains people with in heart math. And again, wonderful people in general. So if anybody can come, boy, we'd like to share our information with everybody. And guess what? We do have a galactic party. We're having a galactic prom party. I'm not kidding.
I mean, this sounds like so much fun. A galactic prom party. Oh my gosh, I never went to my own prom. So there you go. It's my chance. I can wear a solar system chandelier hat. It would be great. So everybody sign up, go to teamlightstore.com, and it will be March 29th through the 30th. As well as while you're there at the conference, you can also go on one of your vortex tours that you were talking about, or you're going to be having different tours of Sedona, correct?
Yes, I do UFO tours, vortex tours, and meditation tours.
Write in the chat if there's any, if you want to have Sheila back. I mean, she's awesome. I mean, there's just so much more we could just talk about, and UFO stories and the nature of it. It's just, you're just amazing. And you're just a wealth of information. And thank you for also helping on the cruise you gave of yourself in service. I could just feel your energy. I was like, why isn't she up there talking? And then when I found out about you, I was like, wow, you're a powerhouse, but so gracious. And so many people can learn to be like that. And you're a good role model for being a human. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Really, I'm so grateful that you invited me on your show. And I know that you have a wonderful following, and rightfully so. You're a wealth of information as well. And it's such a blessing for me to be able to have met you and obviously find out more about what you're all about. And you're absolutely amazing. Very much so.
Thank you, Sheila. You're welcome back anytime. And everybody sign up and be a part of this conference coming up. You still have time. And I've got the thing here, so let me remove that so you can see. You can sign up at teamlightstore.com. Thank you so much, Sheila. Much love to you and much success. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Please subscribe, like, and make comments, and support this channel by becoming a member. Thank you for your continued support.